Welcome everyone, and thank you for being with us today. This is the first meeting in a series of professionalization webinar organized by the IOCE Professionalization Task Force. I'm Celeste Guiano. And I'd like to thank IOCE Executive Committee and Eval partners who have led this process. And of course, a special thanks to our speaker Keiko Kuji-Shikatani, who kindly agreed to share with us her experience and knowledge about the Credentialed Evaluator Professional Designation Program journey in the Canadian Evaluation Society. Before we begin, I will ask our IOCE President, Alfredo Dominguez, to share with us some welcome words. Alfredo, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Celeste. Thanks to all attendees for joining us. For IOCE, it's very important to create spaces for the development of training of evaluation capacities. So, in line with our vision, our professionalization task force will conduct a series of webinars that are an opportunity for BOPEs and their members to exchange ideas with experts and recognized figures in the global evaluation ecosystem. Today, we'll start with the 2023 webinar series that we are sure will help to contribute to strengthening the capacities of the BOPEs and contribute to reflecting in many ways on their development. Thanks to everyone. Celeste, we're back with you.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo. Okay, let me introduce Dr. Keiko Kuji-Shikatani. Dr. Kuji-Shikatani is a credentialed evaluator and a Canadian Evaluation Society Fellow. She believes that evaluators as activists can contribute as stewards, ensuring the generation to come will thrive in a caring, equitable, and peaceful world. Devoted to supporting emerging evaluators and organizations through sharing her expertise in learning as we go, and evaluation capacity building in the public sector in Canada and internationally. Instrumental in the operationalization of Credentialed Evaluator Program, which is documented in the Canadian Journal of Evaluation for BOPEs. You may have received the document by email, and in case you didn't, we will share it with you in some minute in the chat. So some administrative issues, as you know, we are recording this meeting, so then we can share it with you, and of course the presentation that kindly Keiko will share with us. And second, please use the chat box to do your questions so that we can collect them after the presentation and use it to the question and answer moment. So I'd like to start welcoming Keiko, and thanks again for being with us, Keiko.
Thank you very much. I would like to first acknowledge this sacred land that I'm sharing this information from. It has been a site of human activity for 15,000 years. The land where I am on, this has been the territory of Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwa and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Toronto, where I am, has been a sacred gathering place for many Indigenous peoples of the Turtle Island. I wish to recognize the long history of the First Nations and Métis people in Ontario and show respect today to the Mississaugas of the New Credit. Thank you very much, Miigwech. And
okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you, Keiko. What a great knowledge. Okay, so I'd like to start by asking what Credentialed Evaluator Designation Program process was like, and if you could share with us some challenges and learnings along the way. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to just first explain what the credentialed designation is. So the CES Credentialed Evaluator designation is designed to define, recognize, and promote the practice of ethical, high quality, and competent evaluation in Canada through a program for professional designations. So I will go more into details about this. So the designation program provides directions for evaluation practitioners, then also for teaching organizations, and also supports those who commission evaluations, hire evaluators with staff, or those who advance to try to educate and train emerging evaluators. So we're all in that. So let me look at the first question. Can you tell us about the process of how we operationalize the Credential Evaluator program? Well, what I share with you today was not an easy process. So I'm going to say tell you that much right from the beginning. Nor was it without any.
Sorry, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, lots of naysayers. But as evaluators, we know that naysayers have their reasons, and it is an opportunity to address the issues that they are concerned about, so we can all get to where we want to get to be. I became involved in the professional designation work as one of the interviewers for the consortium report when Dr. Arnold Love, a very grandfather of evaluation in Canada, we call him, asked me to interview the Japanese Evaluation Society. So he asked me that as part of that you can see on the screen, there was an RFP issued to do a study of other organizations who have professional designations, including chartered accountants, lawyers, and all that, and financial analysts, all these kind of designations, and find out how it happened, and of course, other professional evaluation organizations. And that's when I started, and then that's when I went to interview the Japanese Evaluation Society, because I do speak Japanese, because I am Japanese. And after I joined the National Council in 2007, I became one of the members of the Professional Designation Core Committee with Heather Buchanan and Bridget Macher. So we really started from scratch. So the first thing we did was take some responsibilities for different area of the preparation, the planning that we had to do. And as we had to first convince the National Council that evaluated had its own body of knowledge, I worked on developing the crosswalk of the evaluator competency. I was able to do this because I was very familiar with the work of Stefan King, Jera, and Minema. Jean King is a good friend of mine, and establishing essential competencies for program evaluation. So this was done, and then, so you have to convince everybody, basically. is that, and then the National Council said, I think we can go ahead with this. Let's try this. So we worked on the definition with a lawyer involved, because we could be sued for everything. So we carefully worded the designation. And then said that the designation means that the holder has provided evidence of education and experience required to be a competent evaluator. So that was our definition that we came up with first. So as you know, evaluation is not a very old field. We see the birth of the modern evaluation in the 1960s, and then in the 1970s, they were concerned about the definition of evaluation, professional competence of evaluators. So in North America, Canada and US started to some first evaluation groups in the late 1970s and 80s. And then they had debated the pros and cons of standards and competencies. So they discussed about what is evaluation, what is an evaluator, auditor, social scientist, data analyst, storyteller, critical friends, and those are, and in 1994, the Joint Committee on Standards of Education Evaluation published the program evaluation standards. And in 1995, CES defined its ethical guidelines. These are really important pillars of the designation program, so that's why I'm mentioning this. And these are some of the important information that Dr. Arnold Love, who is also my mentor, has shared with me. And Dr. Arnold Love describes the evaluation standards and evaluation competencies as the two sides of the same coin. Evaluation standards, as you see it on the screen, I'm sure you're all familiar with, define the key elements for effective and efficient evaluation. So the evaluation itself. So, and the competencies for Canadian evaluation practice, which we were able to develop, define the background of knowledge, skills, and dispositions effective and efficient evaluation need to achieve standards that constitute sound evaluation. So, but these competencies, now we can clearly say it to you, took a long time. So drafting and developing the competency involved numerous members' consultations, both surveys and in person, and council review and a validation survey. So it really took a long time. So we know what are the essential knowledge, body of knowledge that we evaluators need to have competencies in to practice. So we stay true to some of the fundamental principles that we worked with, which was inclusiveness, partnering, utility, feasibility, and transparency. So with this, as you can see on the slide, working with hundreds of CES volunteers from coast to coast to develop a very detailed plan, and that received approval and of course, we received the approval for the competencies for evaluation practice over time and the professional designation program policy. Yes, you have to have a policy to have some rules. And then the detailed implementation plan that would enable the operationalizing of the credential evaluated designation. So with all that, in 2008, we received a thunderous standing, no, is it 2009? Yeah, thunderous standing ovation over 700 CES members who said, yes, let's go. And yes, so the CES Professional Designation Program was given a go-ahead in the 2009 Ottawa Conference, and the year-long operationalizing began. So it was a long process. Yes. Should I go to the next question?
Yeah. Wow. Do you have the questions there? That's great. Well, about the challenge, yes, because we are trying to experience this route, and of course, this take a long time. So maybe you can share with us the challenges you can and the CES has experience. Yes, of course. Go on.
Thank you. So we stay true to the fundamental principles of inclusiveness, partnering, utility, feasibility, and transparency in defining the requirements, which was developed through membership consultations. So through the so these were the requirements. So we really had to look at the membership to see what kind of backgrounds members had, and we recognized that most members had a master's degree or above, and so we recognize that perhaps that could be one of the requirements. And the other thing is that graduates level work degree always involves research and research skills, social research skills that are required tools for evaluators. So we thought that was a good starting point. And so the requirements were, we said that evidence, of course, you have to be a CES member, and then agree to abide by the ethical guidelines of CES, and then evidence of graduate level degree. And then we said we do need people to have working experience as an evaluator, because evaluation is a practice-based profession. So we wanted the evidence of at least 2 years full-time equivalent evaluation-related work within the last 10 years. And that was also an inclusive thing, because we wanted people to recognize that in parts of Canada, you will not be able to have a full-time evaluation work. So you will take on other kinds of work that might be just research, management consulting, I don't know, but not purely evaluation work. So we said, okay, in the last 10 years, we like to see at least 2 years full-time equivalent work in evaluation. And then we wanted, and then we knew that we couldn't do an examination, of course, because there'll be a lot of discussions about what should go into the exam and all this. And also, I'm also an educator, so I know that examinations are a one-time thing, and you could not be feeling well that day, or there were areas that you were really good at, but they just didn't appear on the test, that kind of thing. So we said we'll make it into a portfolio-based kind of process of assessment, and we asked that the candidates to explain in a narrative why they think they're competent in the 5 domains of the competencies for Canadian evaluation practice, and then also show that your work meets the program evaluation standards and follow the CES guidelines for evaluation practice. And once the designation is awarded, we ask that they maintain professional learning, 40 hours of professional learning, and we have them recorded every 40 years. Because for 40 hours every 3 years, not 40 years. So those were the designation requirements. So, and then operationalizing the designation meant that there had to be a web-based application. And now remember, this is 2009, not like today where you have lots of apps. So we had to develop a web-based application site, which was a huge challenge, but we had a really fantastic developer who was able to write all the code. So anybody from Canada, and of course anywhere else, really anywhere in the world, can access the site whenever they need to, and that the reviewers, this is really important too, and the reviewers can review them from anywhere. So we had to set that one up. That was a challenge, but also what goes into that site was also had to be built. And also, so when I mentioned the reviewers, we had to also create the Credentialed Board members who would be the reviewing board. And we had chosen the experts from our field, and Canadian Evaluation Society always had these people who were awarded evaluation awards because of their wealth of knowledge. So we chose we invited the reviewers to come, the Credentialed Board to come from those award winners, and also. Yeah, so let me just describe about this. We wanted to give people the chance to really show that they have the competencies, and that we made sure that the process was not about pass and failure, that it was a learning experience. So from the time people applied and created, and they paid the fees, because we didn't want to take the cost associated with maintaining the website, and then hiring some people to maintain the site out of the general membership fee. So this was really important. It was separated. So those who wanted to be credentialed paid this application fee to cover those costs to process the application. And so once they submitted their fees and they paid the fees, and then they had 3 years to successfully complete their submissions. What that means is that they'll go through and upload their information into the application site, and then when it's completely filled, you can submit them. But the program was written as such that if all the requirements are not uploaded, it cannot be submitted. So once it's submitted, it's screened by the secretariat that it's okay. So the secretariat will ask the reviewers to review, and if there were 2 reviewers reviewed, and if there's an agreement, that's the result. It could be awarded or further learning necessary. And when further learning necessary is the answer, it's not the end of the world, of course. What we found really, really fantastic was that when further learning is the result of the first assessment, what happens is that the credentialing board gave really fantastic career advices and said, okay, you seem to be weak in this area, or say, you would benefit from this kind of preparation or learning more about this. So it really was a good career advice as well. So you can go through this process within the 3 years from the time you have created your account. And of course, appeals can be made as well. So this was the process that was set up. Now, once we put in the structures and the processes related to PDP, and it was announced in the 2010 CES conference that yes, it's ready. You can all apply. Well, did they come roaring in? Of course not. It was a real trickle in the beginning. And because many senior evaluators thought that, well, I got my PhDs or whatever, and my business is going well. I don't need this. So it took some convincing that this is a good thing to do. But we did award our first designation in 2010, showing that there were some evaluators out there who wanted to be recognized, because the reason we started this professional designation program journey is because we wanted to define ourselves, who we are as evaluators. And that's really the important part, that this designation program is about ourselves as evaluators, recognizing that we feel that we are a profession, and we would define ourselves of what we see as quality evaluation practice. And that's why we have the standards for the evaluation done. And this is why we have ethics to guide us. And then the competencies that will be needed to provide those effective and efficient evaluations. So what did we do? We had inputs from membership, chapters, senior evaluators, all kinds of people. And we did some refinement in 2011. And we also had this grandparenting right from the get-go, which was we for the grandparenting, we said that, well, some older members of the Canadian Society started their career and are great evaluators, but they don't have a graduate degree. And so what we did was we announced in 2009 that we were going to start this process. So the day before that announcement was made, we kept the membership list there, and those who were on the list was exempted from having a graduate level as their education requirement. So in essence, the education requirement was kind of waived for that people who were on the membership list, who were long time CES members. So that was CES grandparenting scheme that started right from the get-go to invite more people to say, yeah, you're in it, because we didn't want to exclude anybody. Remember, the principles were inclusive, to be inclusive. So, and when we saw that it was kind of slow, we decided that we would, with the advice from other people outside of CES as well, and from inside, we decided that we'll do some fast tracking process, especially for those people who had their PhDs and who were senior evaluators and practicing for a long time. Let's get them in, because if we don't have those really well-known evaluators with the CE, this will never stick. So what we did was, we invited those with the CES awards and that to be fast tracked, and then invited them in and encouraged them to apply. And what we had was we were finally able to surpass 100 credential evaluators by 2012. So this is about 10 years ago. And then we started to really grow. And by 2013, 10 years from now, 10 years ago, it was that we went to 2,000 evaluation credentialed evaluators. So it was a lot of challenge, but by then, 2013, you can tell that every 3 years we had to have the 40-year maintenance requirement. So that site was really finalized by then, and now we continue. So those are some of the challenges that we met. And please, ask us, because I think I have forgotten a lot of the negative things, or not negative things, I should say, the challenging things. When people say, well, how about this? Well, how about that? It's actually an opportunity to address them, really. And this is what I really learned through this process, that every challenge is an opportunity to address them. And that this has really helped me not only in my evaluation practice, not only in the credentialing evaluator world, but also in my actual practice as an evaluator and working in the government. Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Keiko. There are lots of good questions in the chat. So my last question is about the process. I think you already answered something, but I was wondering about the process and if it changed as the dynamic of the concept of professionalizations changed. It's maybe an inquiry I have as from the academia too.
Okay. So what has changed? Well, a lot has changed because the world has changed. So first of all, once I stepped down as the vice president of the professional designation from the CES Council Board, we made sure that our experience was documented for other BOPs. So that's why the journal is there, and we can all benefit from this collaborative process that we're really learning and together. And then since then we have had external evaluations. As you can see in the 2016, that's the first thing that I talked about was the journal. And then the second thing that that happened to us was the external report was conducted in 2016. And so, and recommendations were made. And then also we were on track. And then there were other studies that happened about credentialed evaluator designation, and And then, and by 2018, there's something that happens between 2016 and 18. What we did was we updated the competencies for Canadian evaluation practice, because the world has changed, and we needed to recognize that. So being awarded the Credentialed Evaluator designation also means that the CES has made the commitment to continue to engage in professional learning as our society continues to evolve. So the professional CES Credentialed Evaluator Professional Designation program itself has to continue to evolve as our society evolves and understanding of the world evolves. So the competencies, one of the key features of the competencies for Canadian evaluation practice that was updated in 2018 includes this 3.7 was added because it was very important update for us, as there was a Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, and we as Canadians and evaluators wanted to be part of, and we wanted to encourage evaluations to use evaluation processes and practices that support the reconciliation and build stronger relationship among Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. So this was really important. And CES, as you might know, is one of the founding members of the Valley Indigenous. We also have set up a working group comprised of both Indigenous and non-Indigenous CEF members to consider how we might adopt the principles of the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of the Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP, and to have these principles reflected in the work of the Canadian evaluators. So we are evolving, and while we understood that ethics, standards, and competencies are the three foundational pillars of the Credentialed Evaluator designation programs, we began to really realize the importance of ethics. So now we see both evaluation standards and competencies for evaluation practice resting upon the underlying values that are endorsed by CES for its members and provide the foundations for our CES's ethical guidelines. These CES core values are rights and well-being of persons and peoples, truth-seeking, honesty and transparency, and responsibilities to stakeholders and society. So speaking truth to power is our commitment and our responsibility. It's not an option. As a long-time internal evaluator in public service, I am reminded every day that the policies and programs we are entrusted to support have real consequences for real people. So yes, we have been evolving, and we will continue to evolve as our world hopefully continues to evolve in a good way. And I forgot to mention that my voice is really bad today, because I don't know if you've heard about the wildfires in Canada, and because of that, my asthma started to act up, and I'm so sorry for the if I didn't sound very clear to you today, but that's how it is today. Anyways, with that, please let's open up for questions.
You sound really clear, Keiko. Thank you. We have some questions here, and I get them. The first two questions, I think, getting them are about the selection of the reviewers. I think Ola was asking about how do you select your reviewers, and are they pro bono or paid basis? This is the first question. And I think there are some questions about if you have some rubric or sheets or in the guidelines to compare with the use of the standards and the competencies. How do you, or if you have any tool to use it? And the third one, I think there are answered because are about ethical issues, and I think you answered it. But if you can share with us about the selection of the reviewers and some on how do you check the competencies and the degrees, for example.
Right. First of all, the CES Credential Board has to have a CE. That's like the bare minimum. You have to be a credential evaluator. You can't be assessing somebody else when you yourself is not a credential evaluator. So as I explained, the first group of credentialing board was chosen with the National Council of that time among the awardees, CES awardees, and CES fellows. We're very fortunate to have the CES fellows, and I forgot to mention that the credential evaluator fellows, there were not, I think there's 20 something of us now, but in those days there were not that many, and they were also given awarded the credentialed evaluated designation. So we chose, we asked the CES award winners and the CES fellows to see if they would like to be a credentialing on the credentialing board. And that's how we started. But we have set up policies in which we would, it's a 3-year term, and it could be renewed for, I think, 2 terms. No, I think it's 3 terms now. But every few years, we would, or every year actually, we have we call for people who wants to be on the credentialing board, and then they are chosen by the credentialing board to welcome them in. And in years when we realize that there's fewer, we don't have enough French credentialing board reviewer, then we'll invite more from the French speaking credential evaluators to apply for it. So it's a process that's been used. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I could share you the policies if you're really interested. So just send me an email, and I'm happy to share that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I have 2 more questions here. Well, of course, Musa Walusimbi asked about if CES has plans to support younger evaluators, and is there any plans for younger evaluators? This is the first one. And Florence Eta asked about why do you reckon other BOPEs choose not go in these directions, or what do you have to say about the BOPEs that not choose to go in this direction? If you have any comments about this.
Yeah, let me start with the support for young emerging evaluators. We have lots of support. CES also has case competitions, and we have mentorship programs, and we have a lot of opportunities for training and networking. This CES has chapters across the country, because Canada is a huge country, and there's 10 provinces and 2 territories. So 3 territories. What am I saying? Yeah. We do have different chapters, and the chapters have their networking activities, and that's where the young or emerging evaluators get to connect with other evaluators and be mentored. And I do have lots of evaluators who connect with me, thankfully, and we have chats all the time, and sometimes give some career advice and all that kind of thing as we have conversations. Also, I find that the emerging evaluators actually see the CES, Credentialed Evaluated Designation, as one of their their milestones. They go to school, they study about evaluation, or they get training in evaluation, and they work in a consulting firm, or they work for the government and have the evaluation title in the work, and they keep on working. And then they learn about the credential evaluator designation. So they begin to really learn about that. And as if you have a chance to look at the competencies for credential competencies for Canadian evaluation practice, yes. It's when you look at that, you can see that it's a self-assessment tool for evaluators, both emerging and then practicing credential evaluators, because you're never going to be 100% in everything, but it gives us an idea of, okay, yeah, I think I want to build more competencies in this. So we really use it as a tool to guide a professional learning. Yeah, we do that. So we do have lots of support for them. Another question, the Florence's question.
Yeah, she asked about what you had to say about the BOPEs that don't go in that direction, I think. Yeah.
Right. I think it's up to the BOPEs, really. You can't tell the BOPEs what to do. They are their own, entities. They are their own organizations, and I think they have their own reasons. But I can say that it is a difficult process. As I said, we had many volunteers sign up, but when it comes, it kind of whittles down because people need to work, make their living as well, and people have life circumstances, and not all evaluators can continue to be volunteering on a long term. So, but the process requires many people who are passionate to make it happen. So don't be discouraged if you kind of the interest wanes for a little while. For those who are interested in going, just keep at it. It's your BOPE. You know who they are, and you know how to work. But at the same time, if you ever need any support from us, please tell us, because that's the first reason why we pulled that special edition back in 2014-15 to make it to the International Year of Evaluation for 2015. That is the reason we prepared that journal, just to let you know, hey, this was not an easy overnight kind of thing. It took us decades. That's why I kind of mentioned that history of evaluation in North America. And it's a long way. And also the size of the organization. Probably Canadian Evaluation Society was sort of like the right size, and we were all practitioner based. We're more practitioner based is the right thing to say. So we really cared about the practice of evaluation, not just the research of evaluation, but the practice of, for example, American Evaluation Association. I was huge, and for them to pull everybody's thoughts together and make a move is probably 10 times more difficult than us. And if you're a smaller BOPE, you're probably operating in a very, maybe less than 10, less than 20, less than 50, small number of people. And we all have to make a living, and we all have life to live. So I think those are some of the reasons. But you don't. This is why I wanted to do this presentation. I just wanted to let you know, you don't have to start from scratch. We can share you what happened, and many of us, it's just me today, but there's many people in CES who are very familiar with the process, and will be able to help you, and might be able to speak your language too, because remember, Canada has people from many countries, and many of our evaluators have countries, from countries, and speak language other than the two official languages in Canada at the moment, which is French and English. But I speak Japanese, so I helped my Japanese colleagues as well. So please let us know if there's any questions. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Keiko. I think I missed some questions about membership, and I will mix two questions, I think, about Patrick Okou and I think Ola. It says, how is the structuring of your membership, or what is your membership based on? And I will add the question about the $50. And is this $50 in addition to annual membership fee? Those are questions about membership. And we have another one from Aida El Curi from Portugal, I think. Hi, Aida. It says, is there any research regarding the employability of these professionals? If there are a hire or commissioner as evaluator?
Okay, so good question. So in terms of the membership, our membership kind of fluctuates depending on conferences and that, and it's probably around somewhere between lower would be about 1,400 to about 1,800 members, right? And I don't think we're at that higher end right now. Just after COVID, I think it, as in many organizations, the membership has gone down. We haven't had in-person conference for a long time. We had one last year, and we'll have one very soon in Quebec. So that those are great opportunities to increase membership, but that is the reality. In terms of the additional $50, it's probably what you're thinking. Yes, those are additional to the regular membership fee, because we don't want to burden the regular members who are not credential evaluators to have to pay for the credential cost of running the credential evaluator program. So it was really done that way because of that. And as you can see, I'm not, I mean, you can't really see, but I'm not a management, specialist, or nor am I a real policy writer. But this is what happens when you have all these volunteers from all across Canada joining. Some are really great at, business planning. Some are great at writing policies. Some are really great at, writing the descriptors for the competencies for Canadian evaluation practice. That took a long time, and they were so dedicated. Even I was going like, oh my gosh, all the time. So people have different talents, and we just pull together, and that's how it happened. Now, in terms of having jobs, yes. Actually, the request for, first of all, commissioning evaluation. I think that those who commission evaluation, we do too. I do too in my work. We do write that into the request for proposals. We say, if you have a credential evaluator, it will be an asset and all that kind of thing. When we are writing job descriptions, for our work, we do write in all the competencies that we want to have, and of course CE would be a definite asset. And I think that many consulting firms, evaluation consulting firms, make sure that their staff apply for the CE as well.
Okay, thank you, Keiko. I think we have time for another one question, the last one. This is the question from Chingy Ulsishuren. I'm sorry if I didn't say clear the name. It says, was there any discussion on whether any government bodies to get involved in issuing credential in early stage of evolving the credentialing? What do you think about government's involvement in issuing credentials, and which ministry is most closer position to get involved in general terms?
Good question. So initially there was some talk that the federal government might be interested. So I think in some instances, some people think that that's how it all started. However, as a person working in the government, the interest goes up and down. So, but we wanted to define ourselves. So that's why we started on our own. However, many different governments have their own definition of a competent evaluator or evaluation manager, or that's different. That's within their organization. But our credential evaluator is for anybody who's practicing evaluation. So that would be my answer. I don't know if that was helpful.
Yeah, of course. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Keiko. I think we answered at least the majority of the questions. Okay, I don't know if anyone wants to open the mic and ask a question the last 5 minutes. Meantime, I want to say that, of course, we are going to continue with this series of webinars because we really need to discuss about professionalization. We need to go forward like the Canadian Evaluation Society in our VOPIs, national and regional VOPIs. Fortunately, I'm seeing a lot of friends from the regionals and the national VOPIs, so thank you for those questions, so smart questions. Florence, please go.
Yeah. Yes, Florence.
Hi, Keiko, thank you so very much. You can hear me okay?
Yes. Hi,
Florence. Fabulous. As always, Keiko, I love your background. And yes, my question really goes to, I'm not sure who can answer it, but I recall, Keiko, when in 2015, I think, and I may be wrong, one of the global networks that was created was around professionalization. And my question is really, what has happened with that? And I know that that may not necessarily be an IOCE, but I think it was Eval Partners. I see Sam is here, and maybe Lynn has some information to share. But it hasn't been as vibrant as, or at least I haven't heard, maybe I'm not in that space. What is happening there? Keiko, this is very useful in that direction, but I know that this is CES. So in relation to the IOCE and Eval Partners and the global networks created therefrom, what's happening in this space? And I'm particularly glad, you know, happy to take this forward, because as a former, as a current member of AFREA, and formerly one of the people in management in that team, and being very familiar with the journey that the CES has taken and the position of the AEA, it's something that I think the globe as a whole, the global evaluation community needs to know. We are grappling with how to professionalize in a way that is not exclusionary. So that's my question. And I don't know who can answer it well.
Go, Keiko, go. Maybe then Alfredo, Samantha.
Thank you for the question. That is a good question, and I remember that that it started, and I have to say that I'm not too sure what happened to that. I remember contributing some information to it. I realized that there was one question that I missed, and it was a question from Moses. And Canada has a lot of newcomers each year, and with these comes a number with skills and knowledge. Does the CES consider programs for newcomers for immediate accreditation? So we do have a prior learning and assessment and recognition program where if the foreign credentials are immediately acceptable, then they'll go through the regular program. But sometimes the education experience is not immediately recognizable, then we might ask them to do PLAR, which is the prior learning and assessment and review process. So that could happen. And yes, we had some newcomers apply for the credential evaluator designation. So in terms of the professionalization or evaluation question, I actually see Samantha, and maybe or somebody else can answer that question about it, or Alfredo or Celeste.
Yeah, of course. Alfredo, Samantha, do you want to? Yeah.
Oh, whoever likes to talk.
Well, from IOCE, we're taking the professionalization task force. And Florence, you are invited to participate with us. This is just the first webinar trying to push the idea to mobilize the professionalization from IOCE. And sure, you can see more activities in the next month. Well, everyone is invited to join us. And if you want to participate, just email to Celeste Guiano. We are going to give the email from Professionalization Task Force. And if you want to develop some idea about professionalization, just let her know to start another webinar or another activity. We have a plan to develop some activities from IOCE for all the WOPIs, but if you have some idea, just let us know.
Thank you, Alfredo. Maybe meantime, Florence can repeat the question for Samantha. I would like to add that in the professionalization task force, we are going to participate in the now in the conference in the Canadian Evaluation Society about professionalization. And yes, we are thinking about a global thinking about credentialing, and this is well, a huge challenge. If Canada has this challenge, we can imagine to think it globally. But yeah, we need to do that, and we need to give the discussion, at least give the discussion about this. So maybe we can share with you the results of that panel in next webinar too. So I don't know if Florence can repeat the question for Samantha, but yeah.
Thank you very much, Celeste. I think you have all given answers to my question, but what I was curious about was, did I get it wrong that the professionalization group was also a global network in the same way as Eval SDGs, Eval Gender Plus, Eval this and Eval that? If it wasn't, and it was only a task force, then I have received my answer. So that was my question. Really was, what has the professionalization group, if it was a network, if it was a global network, what has it done to date? Because I didn't seem to see or something. That was my question, Sam.
Thank you, Florence. Actually, that's a great question, and from my understanding, where I know and I was involved in some of the discussions, the professionalization remained an IOCE task force, not a network, but of course a global task force of the IOCE, because IOCE is best placed to promote this professionalization. And I'm also aware of some challenges and difficulties in this journey of professionalization, mainly because this is really a national journey for every country. It's really difficult to take this Canadian experience and replicate it easily in another country, because the overall framework of that country, how they appreciate the evaluation, whether the enabling environment for evaluation is appropriate or not. And there are also a lot of capacity issues. So Canada is, I think, best placed to demonstrate this credentialization CE designation to showcase that evaluation profession is growing here. But of course, I think the task force needs to do more work, maybe through the regional and national VOPEs, engage globally so that other countries also learn from this experience and take some steps towards evaluation professionalizations. Thank you. It was a really, really great session, Dr. Keiko. I'm always happy to learn more, and I am in this journey. I want to be a CE, and this was helpful. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Samander. Thank you. Well, being respectful for the time, I would only want to say that, the professionalization task force wants to become a hub, for professionalization. So you are going to receive more information about that, but this is our agenda now, and we want to think globally. But as we said in the local evaluation week, we have to think globally. So that's the huge challenge, So, we want to thank you, all of you. In some moment we were 44 people, so that's a lot. And thank you a lot for being in a Friday morning, Friday afternoon in each of your countries. And thank you for being with us. And of course, we are going to share with you this presentation. Thank you, Keiko. Thank you a lot for sharing with us your experience, and we will share the recording too. So please be aware about our news about professionalization. Thank you, Keiko.
Very much. Thank you very much, and don't hesitate to contact myself or any one of us. That's why we're here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.